Well, good morning and welcome to another episode of Weald in the Wild. This is episode 2, and today we have with us the lovely Ellie from Leonard's.
Yeah, thank you.
How are you?
Not too shabby.
Good. You got your coffee, haven't you?
I appreciate that. And
Good.
required in a branded mug as well, which is fair play.
Excellent. So, thank you for joining us today. It's really kind of you to come down.
My pleasure. It's such a long journey.
About 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh.
Speed I drive 5, yeah.
Excellent. So today, I thought it'd be really nice if we could just have a little talk about the food industry and sort of the evolution, talk a bit about the past, present and the future, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so how do you think the food industry has evolved over the last sort of 5 years, let's say?
5 years in particular, I think you're seeing a huge change, certainly different sectors. But certainly in the butchery trade, for example, you're seeing a huge increase of butchers seeing the understanding to follow like a supermarket style. Okay. So you're seeing a lot more of the retail packs. Certainly for us, we've certainly found that when we do our glazes, for example, we do gluten-free glazes, we put retail labels within each of those, so you can individually sticker up your packs, follow in line with Natasha's Law, all that sort of thing as well. I've definitely noticed a trend that the consumer within a butchery shop is much more comfortable knowing that that pack costs that amount of money and they know where they are straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's variations within that. If you're looking at a cut of meat, then you want to have it cut from straight from the start. But when it comes to going and get a pack of sausages, a pack of wings for your barbecue or something like that, there's been a definite trend towards that. And then within our manufacturing, 90% of our bespoke lines are now running towards being gluten-free.
Really?
Yeah, we're having a huge increase in volume. Because again, and I hate to say it, where the supermarkets are leading the field, or where they're certainly dictating consumer trend, you look at any supermarket sausage now, it's a gluten-free product.
Yeah. And I guess it's easier for the butchers as well now, because, they know that, especially I know that in the mornings they have to do that gluten-free run, then go on to the standard runs, whereas now they can do it all together. It's really easy, really simple.
Yeah. And you definitely know, if you historically I think there was used to be this misconception or a sort of perspective from certain customers that gluten-free wasn't as good. And now the development, the R&D that we do in-house, that is done by our suppliers as well, is such that it is as good, if not better, than any gluten-containing line as well.
So would you say a product like gluten-free rusk has really developed positively over the last few years?
Massively, yeah, massively. Because I think in order to create the classic English British banger texture, you have to have a rusk in there. You have to have a breadcrumb. You have to have something that creates that open texture. And that has always been the sticking problem with gluten-free, because everything else is not a problem. We change our manufacturing process. We make sure we're making gluten-free. It's making sure that compound ingredient is perfect.
Yeah.
And that's something that took us 5 years when we first launched to get a product we were happy with, that we thought was better, or as good at least, as our stock lines.
So what would you say is, would you say Old English is still the most popular flavour sausage?
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to be seeing the classics going through. So anything that's a premium, a Lincolnshire, a Cumberland, Old English, all those lines, they're the ones that you will see going in sort of day in, day out, without doubt. But that being said, you get, a lot of interest in unusual flavours. So I mean, that's, a lot of the time you will have a short run on a counter or something like that, like a marmalade sausage, which surprisingly last autumn went really well when Paddington came out.
I have tried the marmalade sausage mix, and
it's a Marmite.
It is, isn't it?
It's a Marmite. You got people who go like, absolutely not. This is not what it should be. You should have a premium pork flavour, and that is it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's chilli, if we're feeling daring. But the marmalade is, because it's got that sweetness and the acidity at the same time, it just works with pork so well. So we do find actually it's one of our fastest climbing products.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a seasonal trend to it. We always find it sells through like autumn through to Christmas. You can guarantee that's going to sell.
Blimey. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about the sort of change in consumer demand. So I noticed that in the last few years, consumers are a lot more health conscious, I think. So
yeah.
I know that you guys are Red Tractor certified, is that right, with the salt levels? Or
no, so we follow the practice where possible.
Okay.
So we do like a bespoke line, so we do a lot of bespoke blending, so like down to the 30 kilos. So if the consumer or customer is requesting that salt level, absolutely no problem. So we do a lot of products that end up in schools, so you need to be less than 1% on there as well. Our stock lines, just always give us a call and we'll confirm the salt contents within those for you, because they are, some of our lines are somewhat more historic.
Yeah.
So, we've had the Old English has been on our books since my dad started it back in the 80s.
Wow.
It has changed. It has developed its sort of to legal requirements. But the essential base of it is exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like a high meat content sausage, so like 80% compared to 65%, has there been any changes in trends with that at all?
Yeah, so you're getting a lot more interest within that. So we also have our gourmet line range, which is our 67% meat content now. And then with our 80s range, that's obviously an 80% meat content. We've expanded that, and that's gone very well with some more unusual flavours as well. So it does have the core. So like the Saxon Splendor is probably the most popular on that line, which is kind of like a cross between a premium and an Old English. Slightly more peppery, but it's one that sort of, it goes into Harrods. It's a popular product. So yeah, there's definitely more interest in the higher meat content, which is again circling back to the gluten-free. Again, that's a higher meat content product as well, because whilst you're looking for a consumer that wants that gluten-free, they are obviously also wanting that high meat content product as well.
Okay, that's cool. And in terms of sustainability these days, do your customers ask you to be sort of a bit more eco-friendly conscious these days, or is that not sort of developed into a trend at the moment?
It's something we're starting to see in certain areas of our manufacturing market. I think we both know that the butchery trade, it's less at the moment, certainly in terms of what they're buying in. Obviously, they've got a great push towards the more eco-friendly packaging. Yeah. So I know the ones that you guys do as well with the brown paper wraps and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And the trays. But still within the B2B trade, it's not quite caught up as yet. No. So it's something that I personally am very interested in, and we are continually working on looking at making our films that go through our pack lines and things like that recyclable. And actually, we have done some compostable trials as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, it's at the point, as with all things, that the price point is not making it viable as yet. Yeah. But it's definitely something we would like to move towards.
Yeah, we found the same. We've got customers that would be asking for a lot of more eco-friendly products, but then, like you say, the price point is so high that they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll leave it for another time. That's
the thing, isn't it? And it will eventually catch up, and as everything always does, it will eventually catch up. So as long as we're in a position then to run with it, we know the details, we know the background, we know how that it works through our machines, then...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our first podcast was on sort of like plastic pollution and eco-friendly products, and I mentioned in that podcast as well where it's all well and good us supplying these really great products, but also we need to make sure that the consumers understand how to recycle them.
And this is often the sort of the hidden thing within recyclable materials as well, isn't it? So often you find compostable is a great example. I did a lot of research on compostables. You think, fantastic, that's great. Just put it, either goes into food waste or something like that. But you have to look for home compostable as specific, don't you? Yeah. Because otherwise you have to send it to be industrially composted, and there's only 3 sites I think in the UK.
There's not many. Yeah, there's probably only about 3. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're like, okay, it's a great marketing concept, but it's not actually helping.
No.
So whilst you've got a plastic material that can be recycled, for me that works better than a compostable that you can compost in 3 different sites, and probably never quite make it, and was more likely to make it into landfill.
Yeah, I love watching these videos where they're actually, turning plastic bottles into something else, and you know, you can see it happening. It's really good, but I don't think there's enough of that in the UK at the moment at all.
No, we're definitely missing a step within our infrastructure to create that. And even within the, you know, obviously all plastics that are in contact with foodstuffs have to be virgin plastics, so that's not currently ideal either.
No.
So.
And then just to touch on a little bit about the future trends. What do you think is going to happen in the future in the food industry in terms of trends, whether it'll be more health conscious and more eco-friendly?
Yeah, I definitely think you're going to get more health conscious, and I'm hoping that people will become more aware of where their food comes from. I think we have certainly within the last sort of 40, 50 years become very detached, certainly within the meat industry, where meat comes from.
Yeah.
And obviously the veganism increase sort of over the last 4 or 5 years, which is dropping again now, I understand it, I can understand, but I feel like a lot of the time it comes from a place where you don't understand. And where maybe you could make a better ecological choice from, you know, not buying a burger that's come from a feedlot in America, but maybe spending a little bit more money and buying a steak that came from, and you do that once a month rather than buying it every week.
Yeah.
And something you know where your food comes from, really. So within our industry and within our company, we can trace pretty much every spice back to almost the field it came from. So we know exactly where every item is coming from.
Yeah.
Now I appreciate that me still going, don't buy a beef burger from America when I'm buying spices in from India, from China, from Turkey. It's a little bit hypocritical. However,
that's your opinion.
It's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's great. Well, let's talk about sourcing quality ingredients then, as you just touched on that there. So obviously you do a lot of sourcing. You obviously do a lot of research.
Yeah.
So how much, or what does it take for you to source quality ingredients?
So we are BRCGS certified, so we're a AA plus company at the moment.
Ooh.
I know, fancy. Unannounced audits and all that fun. So which is the highest grading. I'm just going to throw that one out there. Not that I'm still smug. So we tend to purchase from other BRC. It's a very, very high level of accreditation. You can guarantee the food quality that comes through. Within that, we obviously have a set number of suppliers. It's the suppliers with set number of ingredients, and each of those are obviously QC'd on our sort of ingress into the factory. So we spot check on all of our products and continually check on anything we consider to be a high risk of natural variation, so something like peppers.
Oh, okay.
Because depending on what the climate has been like, depends on what kind of flavour profiles you can get within that. And can sort of affect how the end product is. And obviously the concept for us, and certainly on our butchery side of things, is that we want every pack to make exactly the same product every time for you.
And I guess if you had to say, let's buy, you had to buy pepper from one country and then it's changed to a different country. I'm not going to name the countries. But is there a massive difference in the taste or colour of, let's say, a ground black pepper, for example? So
ground black pepper, fantastic example. So manufacturing of pepper is invariably so it comes from a berry and then it's sort of dried by the sun. Invariably they're rinsed clean in rivers, local rivers. So depending on how much rainfall has been had, you can get a level of uplift from the water on the flavour profile. It's perfectly food safe. And some manufacturers actually prefer ones that have a slightly more uric taste to it, because that actually improves the notes within the meat. But you can get huge variations on that. So if it's been a super dry year, you can get a real sort of like acidity to the flavour. If you've had, and you know, obviously it affects crop and things like that. It's one of the very, very volatile spices in terms of flavour and in price.
Okay. So in terms of traceability and transparency, do the raw materials suppliers of, let's say, the pepper, do they have to declare that they've washed it in a river?
So before we even approve any supplier to be a supplier to us, we'll basically do a full audit check. So that's anything from them proving their certification, so they're again high-level BRC, GS or some equivalent. It can go as far as actually having a site visit to make sure that the process that they are using is suitable for food safety. So we've gone through the whole process. They gave us what was essentially their HACCP flow, which I'm sure a lot of people understand what a HACCP flow is.
Yes.
It normally gives most people a nervous tick when I say it, but it means that me as a technical sort of person on site, I can go, okay, cool, you've done all the checks that make this food safe and make it perfectly acceptable and you know, safe within the food sort of manufacturing process. It means that I can check for quality. It means I can check for so obviously we always get specs in for the products and certificates of analysis as well. So you can see the volatile oils. It gives us, the production team, an idea if we're going to high level volatile oil which is going to change the flavour, and whether we need to review and test that before we put it into process and manufacturing.
Okay, cool. It's brilliant. Thank you. Learned a lot there.
A lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
You picked a really good product.
Oh, thanks. So, in terms of when you're making or creating or developing new flavours, if we can just maybe discuss how you do that, and how do you use any science, and obviously creativity is a massive thing, I imagine.
Yeah, I think you've got to think of it as so you always have the building blocks of science. So the building blocks of what's going to make a food safe product. So obviously is
that the first thing you think about when you're...
Yeah.
Right, okay.
It's always going to be food safe. You've got the building blocks of how to make a product that's functionally good. So what sort of contents you need to draw in certain proteins, or what sort of bases you need in there to make the difference between having a burger mix to a sausage mix to a glaze to a chip seasoning or something like that. And then you have the flavour compound on top of that. So the flavour portion is the creative.
Okay.
And then you have a nice science background, which is obviously why, so John heads up our NPD, the team, and we've got a chef on there as well.
Have you?
Yeah.
Very fancy.
So you get the nice balance. Obviously he's got the chemistry degrees and things like that, so he's good with the chemistry bit. He's annoyingly good, and don't let him listen to this podcast, but he's very good at the flavour as well. But it means that we get a mix of creativity and science, which I think is why people tend to like the NPD and the R&D in particular, because we just get to eat a lot of competitors' stuff or new development flavours. And
because your flavours are, you've obviously got the base flavours, your Cumberland, Old English, but then you've got some really, really cool flavours.
We have, some unusual things. So, I think the Lebanese 7-spice is one that I particularly like, because you've got a really quite heavily spiced seasoning, but then you've got pops of date through that as well. Oh. And I think, and it goes really, really well. So you get that lovely sweet and sort of...
So is that like dry date powder or something?
No, it's actual chunks of dates. Your face said to me that you don't do fruit and meat together at the same time.
No, you never seen me putting pineapple on pizza, let's just say that.
We're all wrong.
For another episode, we'll have a debate about that.
We have a discussion about the best things.
Oh, God. Okay. So I guess you have pineapple on pizza then?
Obviously, and chili's for preference.
Oh, we need to end this right now then. Can't be having that.
Now, finally.
I think we're going to have to.
Okay, good. But it's one that's super popular because you get that heaviness of the spice and it complements against it beautifully. We'll do anything that we can think sort of unusual. We do obviously our limited editions, which bring out, chili and chocolate. There may be a relaunch this year of one that is, it was from the 2012 Olympics. We launched it.
All right.
This is where I'm looking forward to seeing your face when I tell you what it is, remind you what it was. Do you remember the Caribbean? Probably not. Caribbean sausage mix. It had banana in it.
No, but I could probably handle that.
Okay.
Handle that fruit in a sausage mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well,
give that a go.
Okay, we'll get you to doing some product testing.
Oh, that's fine. So, do you feel like there's a growing demand for unique and diverse flavours at the moment?
Yeah, we've definitely noticed And unusual flavours in short lots, obviously where we can do the 30 kilos, it works really nicely for us. And the ability to do that quick turnaround is quite good. And then, again, with things like our bespoke blending, we're noticing a lot of shops that want to have something that's their own.
Oh, okay.
So whether it's something that they've maybe had a base seasoning they've been adding their own flavours to, that we can do that for them, and it means that they, as the owner, don't have to necessarily do it, but they can delegate it out, and they know it's going to be the same products every time. Or they've had granddad's seasoning for ever, and they're now at the stage like, this is taking a lot of time. You're like, I've got better things to be doing, and we can do it for them instead.
Yeah, because your MOQ is 30 kilos for bespoke blends, which is actually probably you're the only sort of manufacturer in the industry that can do it that low.
Significantly lower than anyone, just was the way that we're set up. So we've always made sure we've had, whenever we've expanded, we've made sure we've kept that flexibility. Yeah. It's so important for people. Even, I mean, we use it for a lot of our big manufacturers as well, because it means they can do a test run. Because you think 30 kilos of seasoning is going to make quite a lot of sausages in the end. You don't want to make them, make them have 100 kilos of it.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It's funny actually, because Dad's enjoying his retirement still, and he's starting to make his own sausages and burgers, and naturally he's using the Leonard's mixes.
Correct answer.
So he did some Old English recently, and he said, I only used half a pack, but I've made like 60 sausages or something. Yeah. So we're eating a lot of sausages at the moment.
Increase one as well.
Yes, fantastic. Excellent. Well, we're nearly at the end of our podcast today.
So soon.
So soon, I'm sorry. It was the fruit thing that got me.
Oh, so we're cutting it short now.
Yeah, we're cutting it short now. So I thought we'd have a little bit of fun, and we'll just do a few little questions.
Are you going to test my technical knowledge or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I know the answers.
Yeah,
but I didn't know before. So, which country is a top producer of oregano?
I am going to take a punt with where my oregano comes from, which is sort of Turkey, Baltic area.
Correct.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
What about top producer of lavender?
I mean, lavender sausage just made me think of that one as a flavour concept.
Wow.
You'd assume France, really, wouldn't you? It's a very Provence-y thing.
Close.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no
I hope it's close
but
now.
no cigar.
See how good my geography is. Bulgaria.
Not close, but cool.
It used to be France. Now, talking about lavender, what do you think that would go well with in a sausage mix?
Oh, you probably have to have pork, really, wouldn't you? Oh no, lamb. I think I definitely had tasted lamb and lavender have done.
Because
it's the fatty content, so you'd want that sort of the acidity from the oils from that would go with the fatty content of lamb.
Well, I think you should.
Well, if anyone wants to test around that, I'm more than willing to give that one a pump.
Maybe we should ask the viewers to send in their recommendations for what they would have with a.
Presumably a pineapple sausage would be there.
Now the door's going to be open.
The Hawaiian.
Hawaiian. No, not even going to entertain Ellie today. Sorry. Moving on. Last question. So, which country is the top producer of chives?
China.
Correct.
Oh.
So I'd say 2 out of 3.
Well, I mean, I'll take the 2
because I would have got 0, so you could be much better than me.
It's my job.
Well, it's been really nice having you here today. Thank you for your time,
much.
And thank you for bringing the samples.
Yeah.
And obviously we've been displaying your 5-mix boxes, haven't we?
Yeah, so these are the 5-mix. So obviously we do the larger pack sizes as well, which I think what a lot of people know us for.
Mm-hmm.
But a few years ago we launched out the 5-mix, which we find is quite useful for going back again to not wanting to have a huge amount of stock. Or a huge amount, it doesn't take up much space. That makes 52 pounds of sausages in old money. So does this one on a gluten-free line. It just makes life a little bit easier for everyone. So and they're packed into 5 bags, so you make a 10.5 pound chopping on each one.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Well, thanks everyone for watching today. It's been really awesome. I've had a really good time with you today, Ellie. And don't forget to check out our website, www.wealdpackaging.co.uk. We've got all the Leonard's range on there. Got the glazes, sausage mixes, burger mixes, and Ellie will share their website as well.
So we are www.leonards.co.uk.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And don't forget to like and subscribe on the website. We're on Spotify, YouTube, we're everywhere. So yeah, enjoy. Bye guys.
Bye.